Welcome. Lately I've been scouring YouTube, finding a plethora of videos on programming, different aspects of programming. I use Go here a lot lately, and there are numerous videos on Go. What I haven't seen is using tests to drive your development, TDD. So I'm going to build out a quotes API using test-driven development. Because I'm going to cover a lot of content, this is going to be a multi-part series. And this first part, I'm just going to cover a post, right? Creating a quote, where a quote just has a couple of attributes, namely an author and a message. And we're going to use a slightly, probably different approach. I'm not going to cover the success case until like the very end of this video. We're going to cover the numerous ways in which things can fail. And when they fail, we want to make sure that our API deals with those failures deterministically. All right, well, without further ado, let's get started. I've got my editor open. I'm going to create a directory called TDD quotes API. Let's drop in the TDD quotes API and open up VS Code. Let's get rid of that get started message. Right out of the gate, I'm going to initialize a module. And since I'm in my Go path, so if you look here, Go and what am I doing? Go path. I'm inside of my Go path, and you can see Go source. All right, let's open up main test.go. Get rid of the editor, and I just did Control tilde in case you were wondering. This will be in package main. I'm not going to focus on refactoring or making this code like spectacular right now. We'll refactor in a future or subsequent video as an exercise. Right now, let's just get some stuff working. And I'm going to create a function. We'll call it test. And when you write test functions in Go, they must be prefixed with the word test. We'll say test handle quotes. This is going to take T, which is a pointer to testing.t. I'll go ahead and save, pulling in the testing package. And let's add some comments. First I want to do, I'm probably going to use some kind of a factory function. So we'll stand up an instance of our app. After that, we'll grab a server, grab an HTTP server from the HTTP testing package. Then we'll build a request. After that, we'll send our request. Send the request to the server. Then we'll test the status code. Finally, we'll test the response. Maybe I'll put body in there. All right, we have a plan. Let's get at it. First, I'll just say app is equal to the calling of new app. Here, we'll just call it TS for our test server and HTTP test.new server. New server wants a handler. Well, our app should have that handler in the future. Handle quotes. And handle quotes is going to take in a response writer and a pointer to a request. But new server, just like listen and serve, wants something that satisfies the handler interface. So there's a helper function that does that for us. We'll just say handle func. All right, handler func. And let's build our request. We'll say request.error, HTTP, new request. Let's define our URL outside of here. We'll say this is ts.url, but it wants the method first. We'll say HTTP. Actually, let's define the method outside of here too, because we're going to use table tests and subtests right after we finish the first test. Let's say, we'll kind of put these in order. So the method that we want at the moment is a post. Method post, not patch. Method post. We'll pass in the method and the URL. The body, we'll just pass in nil for now. Okay, that could error out. Let's deal with our error. If the error does not equal to nil, let's say t.errorf. And could not, maybe we'll use a contraction, couldn't build request because of some reason. Now that we've got our request, let's send it to the server. Let's get ourselves a client, and we'll call it client. If I can spell client. All right, now that we've got our client, let's send our request. We'll call the do method on our client, passing in request. This will return a response and an error. I'm not going to type out that whole thing, not when I've already got something similar. And we'll say that the request failed. Now that we've got our response, let's go ahead and defer the closing of that response. We don't want any memory leaks. Now let's test the status code. And we'll say expected status at the moment. So if we send a nil body with a post, we should get a message saying, hey, JSON body can't be empty. And let's build that out. It's going to be JSON. This is probably going to be an error, or it should be an error. And the message should be JSON body cannot be empty. And while we're building out expected stuff, actually that's the body, whoops. The status, and I don't know why I deleted that. The status will actually be bad request. So HTTP bad request. Let's check for the stuff. So if the response dot status code does not equal the expected status, t.error, we'll just say that we got some value, but we expected something else if it failed. This is the status code, and we wanted the expected status. And I'll copy this. This needs to go there. All right. Expected body, and this is the response body. Oh, well, that's not going to work. io.readAll, and we'll pass in the, wow, that's interesting. Maybe we'll call this body actually. Response body goes in there. This is a byte slice. Gotta love byte slices. Almost everything we deal with is a slice of bytes in one way or another. This could error out. I don't want the got expected example. Let's replicate that. And we'll go here. Reading response body failed. Let's assign this to body, and we'll just stringify it. Pass in the byte slice, cast it into a string function. Now we've got a body. That looks pretty good. All right. If I try to run this, I will get not a failed test, but a compilation error. Let's go ahead and fix that. We want to see a test fail. Never trust a test you haven't seen fail. Actually, let's open up this. Let's go to main.go. We'll do package main. We need a couple of things. So application struct. And I'm not sure we need to pass anything into that just yet. Struct. We need our factory function. So new app, which will return a pointer to an application. Return application. We need a method. Handle quotes. And we need to add the method receiver, which is app, a pointer to an application. I'm going to do WR. The editors help me. I'll just press enter to populate that. We'll go ahead and pull in the HTTP package. All right, so we want to see our test fail. We can run our code right now. Our compilation problem is now has now disappeared because we've satisfied new app. It exists. Let's clear this out. We can run our test, and voila, got 200, expected 400. Okay. Wait a minute, I must have fat fingered this. If body does not equal expected body. This actually should be body, and this should be expected body. I'll try that one more time just so that it looks like it's supposed to. Okay, so here's testing the status code. We wanted a 400, right? A bad request, but we got 200, which is kind of weird. And then we got nothing in the body, but we wanted JSON body cannot be empty. Let's make this test pass. Let's write enough code to make this test pass. Inside of our handler, we need to first, I want to just jump ahead of ourselves. Let's say and r dot body. Well, actually, we'll call it JSON dot. Let's do a decoder. So we'll say JSON.new decoder, then calling decode. We'll now need a quote. So let's just define a quote up here. Quote's a struct. We'll go ahead and define those two fields. So an author is a message. Author's a string and a message. My brain's jumping ahead of me. Let's go ahead and add our JSON tags. Wow, I'm like striking out here. Let's try that again. JSON, all right. This will represent as author, and that will show up as message. All right, let's try to decode that into quote. This returns an error. Let's handle that. And actually, this is going to error out. We got here, not W. This is the response. R dot body. Let's see, if that fails, we're going to w dot write a header, where the header is HTTP bad request. And we're going to write for now a slice of byte, and let's see. All right, let's try to think ahead. For consistency's sake, let's say our responses are going to be a map where there's a string and a string, and for now this is error, and then this will be I don't know how to make it super complicated. Actually, that's not even complicated at all. This will return a slice of bytes that is JSON. An error, and then the message is what? JSON body cannot be empty. And since I don't need to type it out, let's copy that. JSON body cannot be empty. And I'm going to go ahead and add a return here. The function will just return, but I may forget it in the future. No, I won't. All right, let's test this out. Go test. Now we have a passing test, or two really, because we're checking the status code equals bad request, and that the body equals error JSON body cannot be empty. Perfect. Let's write another test. But before we do, I mentioned table tests and subtests. Let's go ahead and refactor our test. At the top, I'm going to write something called test cases, and this will be a slice of struct. And whoops. All right. Let's see, let's add a couple of fields here. A name will be a string. And what else we need here? For now, we'll need an expected status. Expected status, that's an int. The expected body, which is, let's make it a string. We need the actual body, that's probably important. Or the body is going to be a slice of bytes. All right, let's go ahead and let's replicate what we have with our first test, and then we'll add some more tests. So right now we're testing the post no body, and the body is nil. The expected status is HTTP bad request. The expected body is the stuff we have down here. Let's just grab that. I'll copy that whole thing. Let's delete that. Let's go back to the top. This goes here as a slice of bytes. Okay, why are you not happy? Cannot use slice of byte value of type slice of byte. What? Oh, the expected body. Oh, I did that wrong. Whoops. This is actually just a string. There we go. And that should do it for now. So let's modify or refactor our code here. And let's go ahead and put method here as well. The method's a string. All right. Let's get rid of this. URL will go inside of there because we're gonna add get stuff later. All right, let's add a for loop. So if you do for RR, it'll kind of populate some of that stuff for you. This is TC for test case, and we're gonna iterate over test cases. Inside of there, we're gonna pass t.run. First argument's name, and that's the TC name. The next argument is an anonymous function that takes in t and testing.t just on the outside of there. Let's add the curly braces, and we're gonna move all of this stuff just inside of there. All right, now this becomes the tc.method. Which did we set that here? We did not. It's the second field. Method http.method post. Okay. Method URL. This now will become the bytes.newReader taking in tc.body. Okay, that stuff stays the same. Expected status is now no longer, it is now tc.expected status. Same thing here, tc.expected status. And for the body, let's just do a Command D on a Mac. Update both those at the same time. Nice, let's make sure that that test still passed. It does. All right, so let's add another test case. Now, we don't have to touch the body of the test anymore. Well, we will in a minute when we do gets for reading from the data store we haven't even set up yet. But for now, let's just add some more failure test cases. So we've got a post no body. How about a post no author? Right. Well, now we need a body, and our body is a slice of bytes. So we'll say we want to build out a slice of bytes where it's going to have some JSON. It's no author, so we'll just say message, and the message, how about it's excellent. Okay, no author. I don't know, since we're doing this, right, why don't we go ahead and add two more. How about no author, no message? So now maybe we have the author, and this could be Ted, and no values, where we have a message that is nothing, and also an author that is nothing. All right. The no author, this should probably say, please provide an author. This should probably say, please provide a message. And maybe this one, since it's both, please provide both an author and a message. Let's test this out. All of these are bad requests, so we didn't need to change the expected status. I'm going to move this up a smidget. Go test. All right. Expected we got 200, expected 400, and all the messaging we expected, but we got nothing. Let's fix that. Let's go back over to our main.go file. Let's add a validate function on our quote. So we'll need a receiver. Let's queue quote. Keep those pointer semantics. We'll call this validate. It'll return an error. And so if neither the author, so if that's an empty string, and the message. If both of those things are empty, we're going to return errors dot new. What did we say it was? Both values. Please provide both an author and a message. Right. If there's no author, I have an issue spelling that. So if only there's no author, let's see, please provide an author. Where am I? Let's duplicate this. Yeah, what? Message. Just come down here and change that to a little m. All right, we get down to the bottom, we can just return nil. All right, inside of here, so if we've gotten past this, we got some JSON. Now we want to say quote dot validate, where that can return an error. So if error does not equal to nil, we're going to do mostly the same kind of thing. Right, it's still a bad request. And now as far as the slice of bytes go, now let's set up that response thing where we've got a map that's a string. The error is also a string. Here we're going to say the error, and then here it's an error. What are you doing? Error dot error. Why are you not happy? Missing key. Oh, there we go. All right, now we need JSON dot, we're going to marshal this. It wants the thing, we'll just pass in our response. This could return an error, but if, oops, sorry, let me make that bigger. If this fails, we're just going to return an internal server error. And that returns two things. A byte slice. Let's go down to the next line. If that returns an error, let's grab the right header bits. This is going to be internal server error. And that's fine, we'll just return there. Otherwise, into our write method, we are just going to pass our byte slice and return. Let's take a quick glance. That should do it for now. We still have no success case, but now we're testing, hey, when you give us nothing, we should get JSON body cannot be empty. If you give us either no values at all or no message, no author, we'll get meaningful error messages. Well, let's test it out. So let's run our test again. We're almost there. What happened here? Please provide, got error, please provide a message. Expected error, please provide a message. What is missing? Did I misspell something? Almost kind of hard to see. This is please provide an message. Please provide a message. I think provide a message is grammatically correct, or is grammatical. So let's go, that's got. It's in the code. Let's go here. Please provide a message. Let's run our tests again. They're all passing. Let's go back to our tests. What do we got? We test the scenario where there's no body. We test the scenario where there's no author, where there's no message, and no values in general. What other ways could this thing fail? That's probably it. At least that's a really good start. Let's replicate this one more time. Post, we'll call this the success case. Post success. Let's put an author in here. So we have Ted. How about this time we'll do Bill. The message is excellent. Where we no longer get a bad request. Now we get a status created. And what should we say here? How about message successfully created quote. I think that's pretty good. All right, let's go back to our code. Oh, let's run our test first. Let's see. All right, post success failed. We got a 200, we expected a 201, and we got nothing in the response body, and we were hoping to get a message that says successfully created quote. Well, let's write enough code to make this test pass. We need a data store, so let's wire that up or set it on our application. So we'll just call it a store. For now, we're just going to make a map that takes in an int and where the key is an int and the value is a quote. That'll do it. We need something to keep track of our primary keys, the ints there, and as the key, we'll just say that, and not type, but we'll make it a variable count, and it's an int. We'll use the nil value. It'll be 0 by default. Inside of our factory function, let's set up a store where we want to make the map, an int, and a quote. Let's go ahead and seed it with some data. How about store? Let's increment count first. Count's now 1, and we'll say store at count. Let's add a quote. And how about author? Let's say Gandhi. And I think it's G-A-H, Gandhi. Ooh, Gandhi. I think that's how you spell it. That may be wrong. Message be the change. Right, let's say store is equal to store. All right. So if we get down here, we've got a quote. Let's now add our quote. First, let's count. Maybe we can add some comments here. We should. So add a quote to the store. While we're at it, let's see. Handle quotes, interacts, performs validation, and interacts with the quotes store, or the quote store. Quotes. Let's see here. Deserialize the request body. Run validations against the deserialized data. All right, we get down here, we're updating the store. So now we want to say app.store count equals quote. Don't need to return, as this is the end of the function body. All right, let's not forget to return something. And I'm gonna grab our response. Now, again, like I said, I'm not refactoring. We'll come back in later and refactor all this. There is a lot of repeated code. Perhaps we could abstract away some of that monotony, the minutia of dealing with responding. Let's see, for now, this is not an error. This instead will say message, where the message is successfully created quote. Where are we? Message successfully created quote. Yeah, if error, all right. We need to set the header here, HTTP status created, and then return our byte slice. That should do it. Let's find out. Let's find out. Go test, pass. All right, and let's add some verbosity here. All of our tests are now passing. And if we are super curious, we can add the cover flag. We have 88.6% coverage right now. Beautiful. Okay, and we've used some tests to drive the creation of the post logic, creating an API, or creating a quote using our quotes API. This is great. I think if we look at our API, or our test we've got here, we're covering when someone forgets to put something in the body. We're covering when they forget an author, when they forget a message, when they've created the keys but neglected to add values, And finally, the success case. Hey, what happens when they send us everything we ask for, everything the API needs in order to successfully create a quote in the store? This is looking pretty good. And this is probably going to do it for the first video. The next video should go much faster because now we don't have to touch this. We will in the next video, actually, if we're doing Gitty stuff or reading from the database, the store. We'll need to modify the route a little bit. But other than that, we're mostly just adding test cases. Let's add a couple more comments here. Right here, let's just say these are our post tests. And let me go ahead and see, good status. Let's initialize the Git repository. We've got a couple of files here. I'm going to say git add, git commit. We added a feature. Let's see, ability to create quotes. There is a suite of tests to ensure proper failure as well as success. That's probably good for now. All right. Right quit. We'll add a tag. This is version 0.1, as we can now, fail to resolve. Oh, well, let me add that stuff in. Git commit. We added a feature. Add quotes to store. There is a suite of tests to ensure we properly deal with various failure scenarios in a deterministic fashion. That's probably pretty good. Success is free, I think. All right, now if we do a git history, and that's just an alias for git log, one line, graph, and decorate, same thing. You could just do git log too, and you got the verbosity. That should do it for now. All right, well, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.